There is no conclusive evidence in the scientific community supporting any one particular factor that determines one's sexual orientation. The American Psychological Association resolution on gender and sexual orientation diversity in children and adolescents in schools affirm the fluidity and complexity and confusion that children experience during a period of questioning. And during that period of questioning, they may experience level of distress that they seek to alleviate, and to assume that they can only be alleviated through one particular method or approach to their suffering would be inappropriate and unfair to them. The bill will ban those individuals from seeking help to alleviate their suffering if they so choose.
New Jersey, being the second jurisdiction in the country to outlaw the practice of sexual orientation change efforts, which is nothing more than talk therapy, was presented with drama. Garden State Equality recruited a man calling himself Riel Goldani, who read a fantastic tale of being sent to an Assemblies of God church camp in Ohio called True Directions. Goldani told of induced vomiting by intravenous fluids for exhibiting same-sex attraction, electroshock therapy, and horror of horrors, being forced to flirt with members of the opposite sex. The only problem with Mr. Goldani's testimony is the entire story was taken scene from scene from a B-movie titled But I'm a Cheerleader, starring drag queen RuPaul. The entire testimony was a lie. Yet in spite of the false testimony, lack of evidence of any harm, or any unethical behavior by any licensed mental health therapist in New Jersey, the sensational bill passed on primarily party lines and was signed into law. The state government overreached into the Office of Licensed Educational Professional and told the counselor that in spite of the client's desire to seek such therapy, they could no longer affirm a client's right of self-determination. Only homosexual affirming therapy is legal. Only homosexual affirming therapy is legal to a minor in New Jersey.
As a result of being sexually abused, I began a lifelong battle with anger, depression, addiction, and suicide, and began making choices that led to a life of homosexuality. Therapy was not a choice for my family, and I suffered a nervous breakdown at the age of 13. I lapsed into depression, addiction, and suicidal obsession, turned away from God, and became an atheist. I had my first lesbian sexual experience in college while drunk with my best female friend. In spite of depression, alcoholism, and suicidal thinking, I was deeply ashamed of my first lesbian encounter. I sought counseling help for suicide and addiction and was told I was born that way. I went to 7 therapists for depression, addiction, and suicide during a 20-year period in the 1980s and 90s, and every one of them told me the lie that I was born gay. I lived as an out lesbian for 35 years, but long-term sobriety and lesbian relationships did not bring peace or remove my deep-seated shame. In 2007, I experienced the breakup of another lesbian relationship, the loss of a job, and the death of a parent. For the first time, suffering shame, guilt, and grief, I honestly examined my childhood and finally admitted that I was not born that way.
It's all due, in some cases, not all, but it's all due to many children who are sexually abused or when homosexuality come up when their sexual hormones kick in puberty. Also, as a clinician, I can tell you, every one of my clients, they know they weren't born homosexual. They are very much convinced that their homosexual feelings come up as a result of very severe gender identity inferiority and very severe case of unmet same-sex needs for love, affirmation, and affection from other men or boys throughout their life.
As has been said before, there is no scientific data or proof that there is a homosexual gene or that anyone is born gay. Homosexuality is a behavior and a choice. I did not choose to be sexually abused as a child, but I did choose homosexuality. I made choices that led to that life, and I spent a lifetime fighting depression, addiction, suicide, and being victimized by born gay lies from the culture and counseling community. I know other ex-gays who've had similar experiences. This bill is designed to condemn children like we were to that same experience. Licensed professional therapists doing reparative therapy help sexual abuse victims like me heal from trauma. All families and children in the state of Massachusetts deserve the choice to heal. Thank you.
In this bill, we're not saying it is a gene that causes you to be homosexual. We're not playing God in this legislation.
Well, you are playing God.
What we're
If you're
saying
deciding to only take care of one group of people.
Well,
With
what we're
all
saying
due
is
respect.
that for minors, and you can have all due respect all day long, but when we're talking about minors, I think we have a responsibility, and everyone has the choice to leave a therapeutic relationship or stay in it.
But not according to this bill.
Anyone has the right to walk away from therapy,
They
at
do.
any time.
They do, but they can't go to a therapist because this bill says it's illegal. So get this, a sexual abuse child comes in at 15 years of age, he knows he's heterosexual, he's had sexual abuse before, through homosexual feelings come up, and you as a therapist, or I as a therapist, have to say, oh, I can help because I know it works, but I can't help you because the state makes it illegal. Can you imagine the horror?
Well, there are various types of therapy. We all
Yes,
know.
but this is one. That's what we're trying to make a point here today. You can't, again, I don't want to get too disrespectful here, but you can't try to protect one wonderful group of gay kids. We're not telling anybody they can't be gay. We're saying this bill disrespects our children's voices. And I don't think any bill can afford to do that.
Let me give you a case study here. This was written in the Pediatrics Journal in 1992. It was a live study ever. It's an review of sexual orientation in adolescents. On page 714 of the study, 34,706 students from 7 to 12-year-old overall, and I quote, overall, 10.7% of students were unsure of their sexual orientation. Another important fact is that in July 15, 2015, the Centers of Disease Control in the 2013 study of 34,557 adults aged 18 and over, only, I quote, 1.6% identified as gay or lesbian. It is reasonable, on average, there is a tremendous drop of 85% in those who were unsure of the orientation in their youth as compared to adult orientation. There is no reason given for this change in these studies, but it is likely some or many involve counseling. With this new law preventing counseling, there will be those who will be persuaded to choose a homosexual orientation. This means more stress in their lives and increased probability of diseases from their lifestyle. Is this what we want to do to those who suffer from uncertainty?
Among the parent of a son who identifies as homosexual as a result of negative childhood experiences. He was in counseling for those issues until he was referred to LGBT activists by a guidance counselor at his high school without our knowledge or consent. These activists told him that he was born gay, which science does not support, and that anyone who didn't embrace his homosexual identity was rejecting him, including his parents. They also convinced him to quit therapy, telling him that it was dangerous. This is therapist that we were referred to by his pediatrician to deal with these negative experiences. This caused a sense of stress, confusion, and on an already emotionally fragile teenager. No parent should ever have to reconvince their child of their love because of such cruel interference from activists.
This bill infringes upon privacy, confidentiality, and client self-determination, and upon free speech, and in some cases, the free exercise of religion. Such infringements would require the weightiest of scientific evidence to support them, evidence that is completely absent. I urge you to oppose House Bill 97.